Welcome back. For this deep dive, we're jumping straight into Deuteronomy chapter 19. It's all about ancient law.
That's right. And we're aiming to pull out the core ideas here: justice, protection, consequences, basically getting a handle on why these specific rules were set up back then.
Okay, so first off, it mentions setting aside specific cities. What was that about?
Right. The text calls them cities of refuge, and their purpose was very, very specific. They were basically safe zones for someone who killed another person unintentionally.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, completely by accident. The key phrase is, without malice aforethought. No prior hatred, no planning.
Like that example they give, the guy chopping wood.
Exactly. The axe head flies off the handle, hits his neighbor, kills him. Pure accident.
So that person flees to one of these cities.
To save his life, literally. Because the text mentions the avenger of blood, usually a relative who had the right, maybe even the duty, to seek retribution.
Okay, so that's for accidents. But what if it wasn't an accident, if there was malice? Like hating the neighbor, ambushing it?
Well, that's where the system changes completely. If it was deliberate murder, lying in wait, clear hatred, the elders of the killer's own town were told to go get him.
Get him from the city of refuge.
Yes. Drag him out, essentially, and hand him over to this avenger of blood. The tax is blunt. Show him no pity.
Wow. So the absolute core distinction here is intent. Was it planned or was it a terrible accident?
Precisely. And the text gives reasons for this whole setup. It talks about preventing the shedding of innocent blood, meaning both the accidentally killed person and the accidental killer who might be wrongly killed in revenge.
And purging guilt.
And purging the guilt of that bloodshed from the community, from the land itself. It was considered a serious defilement. They even had instructions to add more refuge cities if their territory grew. Shows how important it was.
Interesting. Okay, so beyond refuge for unintentional killing, what other justice principles pop up in this chapter? I think it mentions boundary stones.
It does, yeah. A quick point about respecting property lines: don't move your neighbor's landmark. Basic societal order stuff. But then it gets into judicial procedure, specifically evidence.
Evidence? How so?
Well, it lays down a really fundamental rule for legal matters. Any charge, any crime, it must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses.
Not just one person's word.
Absolutely not. One witness is explicitly not enough to convict someone of any offense or crime. You need corroboration.
That makes sense. Reduces the chance of, well, false accusations getting traction. But what if a witness is lying? What if they're malicious?
Right. The text anticipates that, too. If there's a dispute and it goes before the priests and judges and they investigate, if they find out a witness is lying, trying to falsely accuse someone,
Then what?
then the rule is pretty stark. You do to the false witness exactly what he intended to have done to the person he accused.
So the punishment mirrors the intended harm of the lie.
Exactly. It's a direct application of that famous principle mentioned right there in the chapter. Show no pity. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot.
So that eye for an eye principle is applied here in the context of false testimony that could lead to such consequences.
That's one key context where it's explicitly applied, yes.
Yeah.
The punishment fits the malicious intent of the false witness.
And is there a reason given for why the punishment for lying under oath is so severe?
Yeah, the text explains the rationale. It's about deterrence. It says something like, the rest of the people will hear of this and be afraid.
And never again will such an evil thing be done among you.
That's the one. It's meant to make an example, to protect the integrity of the justice system itself.
So putting it all together from Deuteronomy 19, we have this careful line between intent and accident with the cities of refuge, then this really strong emphasis on multiple witnesses for any charge, and finally this principle of direct proportional retribution, especially for undermining justice through false testimony.
It paints a picture of, well, a very particular approach to law and order, distinguishing intent, requiring solid proof, and applying quite direct consequences. It's fascinating stuff.
Definitely.
And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When you look at these ancient ideas, the focus on intent, the need for multiple witnesses, this direct eye for an eye kind of retribution, how do they stack up against, modern legal thinking and practices? What does comparing them tell us about how our ideas of justice might have evolved, or maybe even stayed the same in some ways?